Okay, now let's take a look on the engineering drawing of our concept designs. So what we have done is basically we did the engineering drawing of our concept designs, which is the first thing is the remote control. As you can see in the picture here, this engine drawing for the remote control is done by Mr. Shakila. And yeah, you can see here on the top right here, it is the top view of the remote control, and the bottom right here is the side view of the remote control, and then the bottom left here is the front view of the remote control. And as you can see in this drawing, all the edges, the length are clearly dimensioned. And as for the remote control, it is the dimension for the remote control is 40 times 60 times 15, which is 40 in wide, 60 in the length, and then 50 in thickness. It is in unit of millimeter. And also the drawing is, there is no something like sharp edge, because we have used the features that something like fillet or chamfer to make the remote control is more safety. And this drawing we have done by using the AutoCAD software. Okay, so next is the traffic light drawing, which is also done by Mr. Shakila by using the AutoCAD software, which is, as we can see in this picture here, the drawing also clearly dimension and label. So for this drawing, as you can see in the top right, it is on the top view of the traffic light, and the bottom right is the side view of the traffic light, and the bottom left is the front view of the traffic light. And this drawing is, the dimension for this drawing is in centimeters, and the 3D view of this traffic light is shown on the top left here. So that's for the engineering drawing of our concept design. Okay, so now let's take a look on the 3D model of our concept design, which have been done by our team by using the Autodesk Fusion 360. Okay, now I'm going to show you the overview and the label diagram of our design. So these are the overview of our designs. So first, remote control. There is a blue button and LED indicator, and also the keychain hole. This keychain hole is actually for the purpose of hanging this or keeping this remote control safe, so that the user or the driver of the ambulance can put the keychain and then hang on to something. And for the traffic light, as you can see here, there are 4 different LED in our traffic light, which is red, yellow, green, and finally we add the blue color, which is to indicate the emergency situation. And we have also labeled these housing stats for the LED for the traffic light, and also these are the reflector supporting arm to hold these housing stats, the circuit board, which is also as the our controller board, and also here there is a lens for this LED, and finally there is a pole of our traffic light. Okay, now here we have the circuit in the controller board at the traffic light. So on the left side here, as you can see, this is the pictorial diagram of the electrical circuit, which have been labeled, and the components are buzzer piezo, IR receiver, Arduino Uno, resistor, and 4 different LED, and also there is a breadboard and wires. So on the right side, the right view here, this is the schematic diagram of our electrical circuit, and all these circuit diagram are been drawn by using the Physins software. Moving on, I'm going to explain the working principle or working mechanism of our system. Okay, so to start explaining on the working mechanism of our system, so let's take a situation where ambulance stuck in the traffic jam, and then the ambulance cannot pass through the heavy traffic jam. So that means this ambulance is far behind from the start of the traffic lights. So when the ambulance arrive at the situation or stuck in the traffic jam, the driver of the ambulance need to push the remote control button, which is the blue button of the remote control. And then this remote control will transmit signal to the traffic light. And then the controller board at the traffic light receive the transmitted signal, and then the microprocessor will execute the emergency process, which is the green and blue light of the traffic light will turn on so that the vehicles at the traffic jam will move first, so that it can make a clear way for the ambulance to pass through the traffic light. Meanwhile, simultaneously, actually the siren will also go off. The siren at the traffic light will also go off while the green and blue light is turning on to alert the nearby drivers to indicate the emergency situation. And finally, the ambulance can continue to move to the destination. So here's a little info on this system. An infrared IR remote control, also called as a transmitter, that uses light to carry signals from the remote to the device it controls. It emits pulses of invisible infrared light that correspond to the specific binary codes. These codes represent commands such as power on or off. The control device, which is switchboard at the traffic light, also called as the receiver, will decode the infrared pulses of light into binary code that microprocessor will understand. So once the signal is decoded by the microprocessor will execute the commands, which is the emergency processes. So the next part is materials selection. Okay, so for the materials of our traffic light is, firstly for the housing stats, we are going to use aluminium because it is lightweight and corrosion resistance. And for the supporting arm and the pole, we are going to use galvanized steel because it has strength and corrosion resistant feature. And for the circuit boards, we are going to use the stainless steel because it also has the corrosion resistance feature and it is durable. For the reflector, we are going to use the polished metal, which is good to direct the light forward for the traffic light to be visible clearly to the public. And for the lens, we are going to use the tinted glass. And finally, for the lamp, we are going to use LED, light emitting diode, instead of using the bulb because LED has long lifespan and energy efficiency. So after we have presented to you the material for the external design for the traffic light, we now going to present to you the component for the traffic light circuit. So first thing first is Arduino Uno Rev 3. It is a microcontroller board based on a removable dual inline package DIP 80 mega 3 to 6 AVR microcontroller. The second component is breadboard. The breadboard is used to make quick electrical connections between components so that we can test our circuit before permanently soldering it together. The next component is light emitting diode. As I have mentioned before, LED. It is to present the traffic light which contains red, yellow, green, and additional blue LED for our system. And also we are going to use the IR receiver, which is this IR receiver is used in IR system to control and operate devices by sending signals. This IR receiver is the component to receive signal from transmitter in the remote control. The next component is jumper wire. It is simply wires that have connector pins at each end, allowing them to be used to connect 2 points to each other without soldering. And also we have to use the resistor in our circuit because the resistor is used to reduce the current flow, adjust the signal levels, and so on and so forth. And lastly, we are going to use the piezo buzzer, which is this piezo buzzer will act as buzzer speaker in our system, which will represent the sirens that will go off during the emergency situation.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Jamal, and now I'm going to present the feedbacks on the model. We had distributed our feedback survey, and in return, we managed to receive answers from 58 respondents. For the first question, we asked how would they rate the working mechanisms of the system, which they are going to rate based on this explanation. There are two split units, which is traffic light and remote control. Ambulance driver will press the blue button of the remote control towards the traffic light direction. The remote control will act as transmitter that will transmit the signal to the receiver at the circuit box. Once the receiver at the circuit box receives the signal, it will perform emergency situation, which will instruct the traffic light to immediately change the red light to the green light and blue light. The sirens within the circuit box will also go off. This blue light and siren is to indicate emergency situation that ambulance is coming towards the traffic junction. And as you can see from the bar graph, most of them rate 4 to 5, which means that the working mechanism of the system is excellent. For the next question, we asked how would they rate the design of the traffic light, where we had included this picture of our design in the survey. And as you can see from the respondents' answers, this design received an excellent rating. Next, to correlate with the previous questions, we also asked the respondents to rate the design of the remote control for the previous traffic light. From the bar graph, we can see that this is an excellent design as the respondents rate it with the scale 4 to 5. Next, we asked how would they rate the overall design concept, which includes both of the traffic light and remote control designs of our emergency traffic light control system. Again, from the bar graph, you can see our respondents once again rate the design as excellent based on the scale 4 to 5. For question number 5, we asked whether they agree that this emergency traffic light control system is able to achieve the three objectives as mentioned above. And the three objectives are to assist ambulance to get to their destination in time, to reduce the number of accidents whenever there is an emergency, and to improve traffic light system in Malaysia. From the bar graph, 98.2% of the respondents answered strongly agree that this system able to achieve our three objectives. For the next question, we also asked our respondents whether they agree that our project is related to Sustainable Development Goals 3, Good Health and Well-being, and Sustainable Development Goal 11, which is Sustainable Cities and Communities. And again, 98.3% answered that they strongly agree that our project pretty much related to both SDGs. Question number 7, we asked for the respondent opinion with a yes or no question. We asked them whether this emergency traffic light control system should be implemented in our own country, Malaysia. The reason for implementing it in our country is because due to the pandemic that is striking our country, ambulance is an important vehicle as they are the ones that will be transporting the patients to the medical facilities. Aiming to ease their journey on the road and even in congested roads, we came up with this emergency traffic light control system idea. And as you can see from the pie chart, 100% of the respondents believe that we should implement this system in Malaysia. Lastly, for our survey question, we asked for any suggestions to improve our project, and as you can see, there are some suggestions such as install remote to ambulance, not separately. Focus on basic area first. Remote control should be embedded to ambulance. Maybe make the circuit box less bulky. And lastly, instead of putting that emergency light along with the other traffic light, I thought it might be better to put it on top of the traffic light with the same design of emergency light as on the ambulance, so that people would easily recognize that it is for emergency purpose. And other than that, we also received a compliment from the respondents saying that our project is good and an excellent work. And that is all for the feedback on our model.